Welcome here. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an amazing time. The not fully informed child. So over the past few days, we've been having conversations around, the team coming up with different kinds of conversations around sex, right? What they were told, what happened to them, and all of that. All right. One thing that is very instructive in this conversation is the fact that people are sharing life stories and not just, trying to just, say things that you cannot really understand. My name is Wendy Ologi, and I'm in the studio with Steven. Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Stephen Ako.
All right. So we have Stephen Ako in the building, and Stephen is one of the TIP team members, and we are sharing our stories of how you got to know about sex, something misgiving that happened, how you were able to handle it. So Stephen's topic or Stephen's heading is the not fully informed child. They're not fully informed child. We've had the yesterday we had Oida she came to share with us, and she told the story of how she was timid. You know how you're trying to actually, nobody really taught her, and meanwhile the good girl, but yet the good girl still ended up doing the things that the bad girls will do, and then of course pretending that, hey, of course I'm good. All right, this is very important. And then Toby has also come to, share about the quiet child, but yet the silent but learning child. The child is silent, the child is not saying anything, but the child is learning a lot, and this is really a big deal. All right, Miss Nachi talked about, her time in school and how peer pressure was a big deal in being able to talk about these conversations. Today we have Stephen. Stephen is going to be sharing with us. I've not heard any part of the story. I'm sure Stephen has his own story. And I'm very glad to actually have Stephen here share his story. And by tomorrow, I think we will have, the other, team members in Family Hub come up and share their stories with us. So let's go. Stephen, you talked about the not fully informed child, right? I'm even looking at my screen. I can't see my screen. Okay. You talked about the not fully informed child. I know that there's a lot around this conversation, and I know that there's a lot, to be seen, right? So um well, I'm sure that every one of us want to really listen to this not fully informed child. So let's hear it. When you say the not fully informed child, what does that really mean? How does that connect to the conversations we are having around sex educate? However, if you are just joining us, all right, my name is Wendy Ologi, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parents Academy. And if you're just joining us, please say hello in the comment section. Put a comment in the comment section and say hello, or you say hi, all right, or you just, tell us where you're streaming live from, so that we'll be able to connect with you. Steven, over to you. Let's have the conversation.
All right, you're all welcome here. Like I said, my name is Stephen. So, the not fully informed child, it all boils down to when I was younger, when I was a child, I lived within old people, I would say people
Mm.
that were in their mid 40s
Oh, wow.
and late 30s.
Were you a last child?
Yes, I was the last child.
Ah,
And the gap between I and my siblings was quite large.
oh, wow.
So they were not always around. They were in boarding school while I was always at home when I get back from primary school. So as at that time, my parents were also not around because, of course, they were at work. So I was left with my uncles and aunties at home. So not being fully informed by my parents about sex education and all that, it happened that I had questions and I asked. When I asked, they will tell me they will tell me the names of the genitals, okay, what they are used for, the basic uses, but they will not want to go deeper. They will tell me the other things are when I become an adult. So that is the part of not being fully informed. So it went on, and then I had a feeling in primary school when I was in primary 4. I was 8.
Hmm.
So there was a new girl in class, and That was when I had a feeling that I've never had before.
Oh
And at
wow.
that time, we were using this. That was when this popular phone came out, Multilinks.
Hmm.
That was around like 2008. So we all had these small Multilinks phones as at that time. So I struggled among my peers to get her number, her Multilinks number. So when I got the number and I go home, I will dial the number. She won't pick, but sometimes she picks and I have nothing to say. How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? And it kept on and on like that almost every day.
I will laugh.
So it got to a point I think her mother noticed, and there was a day her mother snatched the phone from her where I was talking to her. So I became numb. I didn't say anything. I was in shock. I said, hey, what should I do now? So I was so disappointed. That was my first crush fiasco.
Hmm.
It was really embarrassing for me because she warned me, she gave me a stern warning. She said, don't call this number again. I don't know why you are disturbing my daughter. Don't call her again.
And wait, you were 8.
Yes, I was 8.
Interesting.
Not knowing what that feeling was all about, but I just knew that I had a
Hmm.
certain attraction to this girl.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, I tried to see how I could reach out there and explain myself, but I couldn't. Yes, I
Hmm.
couldn't. So I was not fully informed about the emotions and social dynamics of life.
The emotions and social dynamic. What were you going to tell the girl, please? I want to know. Because what is all this? I think if the girl had actually answered and okay, so actually, what were you going? What did you have in mind? You say you wanted to explain yourself.
Well, I did not have anything to say. The only thing I would have said was, "Okay, maybe I like you," but I wasn't even able to say it because I did not even understand the kind of feeling that was going on at that
Hmm.
time. All I
Hmm.
knew, I just wanted to be in contact with her, hearing her voice, and then all that.
And it's interesting how I am happy that Stephen is able to actually recall something that happened at age 8, right? And it happens that people actually think that, oh, when these things happen and all of that, then it makes you bad. It doesn't make a child bad that you have a feeling for somebody somewhere in your body. That feeling for somebody somewhere in your body is very okay. There's nothing wrong with that feeling. But I've come to the point where I begin to realize that many parents do not actually pay attention, right, to these feelings. I think the emotional part or the feeling part of this conversation is one that we never have. When you feel so and so way, what do you do? So I want to really know what eventually happened with that feeling, because did it just end because the mother said, "Don't call my daughter"?
It didn't end there. I still called the number.
Ah,
I still called the number, and
ah.
she said she was going to report me in school, so she wasn't able to identify who that child was that was calling her number.
Oh, okay. You never
Yes,
mentioned your
I
name.
never mentioned my name. All I just wanted to do was hear the girl's voice, know her how she's doing, and that was all. I did not mention my name because there were other people too that tried to get her number. So I wasn't the only one. So that was
The
how
girl
they
must
went
be
on.
very hot. Come on
That
now.
was how
The girl
they
was also 8.
at that time I was 9 because that was 2008
Okay.
and I was in
So this
primary
girl was
four.
also 9.
I can't see her age as of now, but well, she we were in the same peer group.
So she will not be more than 10,
Yes,
Sha.
definitely.
Interesting. What was that thing that attracted you to this girl? Please, I want to know. This one that everybody wanted her number. Me, I want to
So we
know.
were in primary four and she was a new student that just came in and she
Okay.
was light skinned. So she
Ah,
was different from what
she
we
they
normally
enter
see.
eye.
It was different from what we normally see for the past 3 years that we've been in the school. A new person. Who is this?
Interesting. I like to get into the mind of people. This is really interesting and I love it. It's the fact that, one day I told, who was I think it was in one of these classes, I said, my first crush experience was at age 6. However, let me tell that story again to you guys. So at 18, I met this young man, well, my classmates, not a young man. We were all the same age mates. So, and I like the guy, I love intelligent men. Oh Lord, give me an intelligent man, you can tell me. This guy will come first, I'll come second, I'll come second, he'll come first. I was like, come on now, that's it. And I started crushing on this young boy. Yeah. I will just come back, I will talk about him, talk about him, talk about him, talk about him. Of course, I'll talk about him to my siblings, not really my parents, all right? And nobody really explained it to me. So it was a feeling. My own just lingered. The problem was it lingered. I crushed on this boy until we left primary school. Of course, I didn't have the liver to act on the crush. Maybe the guy was also not crushing on me, so there was no move. So I would just look at him and just admire him, like, wow, nice, that kind of thing. We were always inside class. Like my dad prefect and his assistant, and we were in the same class until we left primary school. You know how primary school can be. I think it was primary 1A or something or B, and we're all in the same class until we left. By the time we left, I left in primary 5, I left him in school. So he was doing primary 6. And only for don't try that at home. Sorry for another day. Only for me to get to school, I went to secondary school. I was in SS1, and one of those days, I was talking with a neighbor, and the neighbor just said, there's one guy like that in my class. It's my friend. He's going to come over, said he wants to visit and all of that. What's his name? Why is he coming to your house? His name is Chijo Kokonko. I'm like, okay, tell me about it. Please, is it the same Chijo Kokonko I know? Of course, I grew up in Owerri, where it's a small city. Everybody knows everybody that knows everybody that knows everybody. So it has to be one person. It can't be another person. And I described the guy, and I was like, and my neighbor was like, oh yes, that's him, that's him. I say, you know what? Organize for him this weekend. What are you talking about? I want to see the guy. And then they started to do organizations. Children now. We're in SS1 as at this time. And everybody was everywhere organizing for this. You guys are enjoying my story. I cannot see the comment. Are you enjoying this story? So everybody now came, organized this, we're like, so all my, the peers were like 4 of us or 5 or so. We were like, so it's going to come, we will now meet. Maybe at that time, maybe he will not start talking or something. That time dating has started raining, but only for the Chijoko Konko to appear. He appeared the day he will hear this story from me, he's going to have a good laugh. He appeared in my neighbor's house. I walked into this neighbor's house. I saw this young man. I was disappointed. He was not looking anything like what he was looking in primary school. He was looking like an agbero. I said, what did I get myself into? In my mind, I'm like, what happened to him? This guy he was off from what I could have wanted, in quotes, in a guy. And the guy was looking, to say the least, horrible. It's not like he was not looking fine, but he was just not looking like that person. Anyway, you know how crushes happen. They crush, crushes. And this is one thing that we were not, nobody told us, right? By the time the guy left, I knew that was just a stupid, silly, rubbish feeling. But nobody told me that. Imagine that I acted on that crush. This is just my story. Imagine that at that time, I was calling on the phone like this young man. I will not be pursuing one boy. They will not say, she has spoiled. She's chasing men already. That's not the issue. Do you know that? I was reading a story today, and I was, seeing one where a father was, trying to beat a child. And all I'm like, it's not the beating the girl. What did the girl do? They said the girl entered one man's car. The man bought her things. She's just in primary 4. I smiled. I said, it doesn't matter how much you actually hit the girl. There is an underlying issue that haven't been sorted. Have you shared this link with someone? Have you been able to invite someone to this conversation? It is real life, real people, real experiences. That's what we're sharing. Stephen is life, and Stephen is sharing his experience, having his first ever crush experience. Nobody told him anything. He went and crashed. And when he crashed, he came out. I want to know how that story, right? I want to know how that story ended. Somebody said the crush isn't crushing anymore. Yes, my crush stopped crushing. And that was the end of that story. When I now see the boy, I'm like, whatever. Bye. Hi. And thank God he never got to know I ever crushed on him. So please, if you see him, you can tell him. I really don't care. Don't know, don't care, don't want to know. But this shows how much the conversation that a lot of the parents are not having, yet the children are having it in their heads and they are experimenting with it. So invite someone, share this link with somebody. Let us have even more super duper experience on this. While Stephen Accord takes us on his experience, with this girl who was it. So tell us, how did it when you called back again?
Okay,
What
so
now
when
happened?
I called back again, nobody picked the phone for like a week. No one was picking the phone. The phone was off sometimes. I think maybe the phone was seized from her because of the incident that happened. But I was persistent. I kept calling. I wanted to see the end of it. So as at the end of the week, I called and she eventually picked. I called with a different multi-links number because the multi-link phone was ringing at that time. They had a promo, so the phones were
Mm,
plenty. So I
mm.
called with another number. So when I called, she picked. Then I now told her, okay, this is this. So I have these feelings for you. I said when I was
So
9,
bold.
yes, because of the people I stayed with and the way you
Mm,
talk. So I was so
mm,
bold then because I wasn't looking at her directly. So I had the
mm,
confidence.
mm,
So she wasn't even able to understand what was going on. She was just there. She was like, what is happening?
mm.
And all ended there. I was able to say what I felt. I said, I like you. And I ended the call. I didn't tell her who it was. I didn't call the number again. So when I went to school the next week, I saw her. She didn't say, although she won't say anything because she doesn't
She
know
doesn't
who.
know who it
Yes,
is.
so that's how I was just being nice to her. Sometimes I'm very artistic. I draw. So when we have a drawing class, I help her to
You're
draw.
using your
I
talent.
was using my talent to get. So that was how it is until I left the school to secondary school.
And the crush died.
Yes,
Do you still remember this girl?
yes,
Ah, come
I
on
still
now.
do.
And you don't have any, you guys don't have any contact.
We are mutuals on Instagram.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay, so if you are the girl, hello. Alrighty, you're listening to Stephen Arco share his story. So it was that. So that was the first incident about you understanding anything about sex, the feelings and all of that. I usually say that every child is a sexual being. It doesn't matter whether the child is, whatever it is that you put on the child. But anyways, so what after that was it all that there was for the experience for you?
Okay, yeah, that wasn't all. At different stages, at different age, I had experiences and I noticed some things in my body were changing. But I was very, very close to my mom and she was
Mm,
attentive. So she
okay.
told me the basic things I needed to know at that age. She told me, like I said, she told me the names of the genitals, what they can do. I don't just use them to release waste products. She said, this one, you use it when you become an adult. That was what she said.
Does
It's
that
not for
even
now,
mean?
it's when you become an adult. So she didn't specify what age.
What does that even mean?
My thinking was when I become an adult, I will know what this is for. So that was how I was not fully informed, but I
Mm.
had an idea that when I become an adult, this thing is
So
for an
that
adult.
means anytime you become an adult, you can flip it anywhere. That's what it means.
So
Because that's still not full
yes,
information.
it's not full information.
Mm. Interesting. And do you think that did that impact on decision making for you when it comes to sex conversations or sex itself?
Yes, yes.
Growing up.
It gave, I would say it gave me a positive view because
Okay.
she enlightened me and told me this is the conversation I'm trying to have now is not for kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when I get to an appropriate age, we'll have this conversation.
Mm.
So I did not have this conversation when I got to an appropriate age because I already knew what it was for.
Mm.
Because I was listening to adults' conversations when I'm at home with them. So I tend to have an idea of what this is going to work for
Mm.
because of the kind of environment I found myself in.
Mm. So you're saying that environment is a big deal. Did you think that those environments were negative or positive?
Well, those environments as I then was positive because I could hear the disadvantage of the talks that were being discussed.
Okay.
How when people that are not properly informed use the parts of the genitals, their bodies, and they make bad decisions.
Mm.
So I understood that okay, if you do this, this is the result. If you do that, that is the result. So I was able to navigate my way up by myself, not by not being fully informed, but because of the consequences of the call, like the first crush fiasco that I had, I was able to find out that okay, this is why this woman was angry when I called her daughter. I was able to navigate my way on my own. So that was the consequences.
Do you think that event would have turned out negatively?
Well, for me, it turned out positively.
Into a bad decision.
For me, it turned out positively, and because of that, my peer group, when they come and show me something, I'm like, I know this thing. because I've been hearing it a lot from the environment I was in. So
Mm.
I have heard this before, so it's not the
So,
first time.
so what you had was a positive environment where the adults in your life were able to actually discuss some of these conversations around you, and it was in the positive. So, of course, um, even though you didn't have full information, you had you had some basic information that. So, when you started making decisions for yourself, how did that affect you in any way?
Okay, I would say it affected me because I was hastily making decisions because I felt like I know a lot. So
Mm.
this one is a small thing. I'll just do it without thinking. I know since I already have experience in this. I've heard it before, so it's
Mm.
nothing. It's not. There's nothing that will stop me from doing that.
Mm.
So those were the points where I made some bad decisions because I
Mm.
felt like I know too much. So what
Mm.
is there?
Mm.
Yes.
So you had information that were not complete.
Yes.
And of course, that led you to making bad decisions, even though those information should have been an advantage if somebody had led you and taught you exactly what it is that you needed to know,
Yes.
Eventually, and all of that. So it's very important. Do you think that if you had had a complete sex conversation, would it have been better? Would you have made better decisions?
Yes, I would have made better decisions,
Hmm.
obviously.
So who do you think should teach education to the sons? Mother or son or father?
Both parents, because one, the father is not always around. It's always the mom that's with the children. Even when they come back from work, she finds out time to stay with them and try to interact.
Hmm.
But the father, sometimes you'll not even see him because he leaves early, he comes back late. By the time he comes back, you are sleeping. When you wake up,
Is that the kind of father you had?
yes, that's it.
Okay, I had a father who was actually there, just that he didn't know what to say. My father was very available, very, very available and involved. But of course, it's one thing to even be available, it's another thing not to have not to have what to say. My dad had a lot of interactions. But on the subject of this, the only thing my father knew is, well, can get pregnant, you can impregnate somebody. That was the only thing we used to hear. And no other thing that my dad even tried to even broach it. My mom never said a word about it. Interestingly, I never heard anything. But sometimes not hearing might be an advantage over hearing half education. So if you tell me to choose half education and no education, I'll choose no education, because half education will also make you make bad choices, because you get to a point where you think like Stephen said, you think you make choices, but in of a truth, you really do not know. All right. And which is where the real issues come from. You really do not know, but it's looking like because you have heard a lot. When Stephen started talking and asked him if he was a last child, he sounded like one. All right. And because I have my brother who is the last child, who is very close. So when you stay with a lot of adults, you learn things, a lot faster. Sometimes it can be negative, sometimes it can be positive if those environments were well curated. So, Stephen, why do you think it's important for parents to actually learn sex education, like sex educate your child like people before they teach it?
I think it's important for parents to know about sex education before you teach it because half, like you said, half information is not full information.
Mm.
When you give a child half knowledge, the child sometimes may feel like he knows, and then at the end of the day, he doesn't know anything. It's not complete.
Mm.
So on the part of them teaching sex education, I think it's a good one. You should teach this sex education at appropriate ages of the child's life.
Awesome, awesome. And then the parents who are listening, the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro is coming up. And of course, you were 8 when you had the first experience. Nine. 8, you were 9 when you had your first experience of experiencing what that feeling looked like. So it means that parents will need to start early, because while you're thinking that your child doesn't really know, they really know.
Walls have ears. That's another thing we have to tell our parents. Walls have ears because you might be in the bedroom thinking your children are fast asleep. You're listening. Any conversation you are having, they are hearing you. They can hear you.
They
Be
can
it 12
hear
a.m.
you.
Maybe they woke up.
Truly.
Yes, they they can hear you.
Truly,
They can
truly.
hear you.
Somebody actually said to me that she watched her parents have sex for so long because she slept in their room and their parents didn't know that she was watching them. I'm like, gross, like my children would say, so gross. So, so if you're watching us, we're talking about the experience of, sex conversations and the life experiences that you have. And as we conclude, so that I can let Stephen go, what will be your concluding word to parents who are watching and saying, oh, wow, really, really, what do I do now?
Okay, like I said earlier said, just try and make sure that you give your children the right and full information, complete information and guides. Because half information is not full information.
Alrighty. So yes, we have it here. Stephen shared the story. Half information is not full information. Half information made him start going about. I wanted to ask whether when you now go to adulthood, you now started using the thing they say you should use, but let me leave it there. It is private conversation. Shall leave it there. All right. Thank you so much, Stephen. We're gonna let Stephen go. And yes, that's what we're talking about. We are talking about the conversation around the sex, and every day we've come to the team. Since Stephen didn't tell us what he used the thing to do in adulthood, let's assume that Stephen has been a great young man, right? I want to believe that. Okay, so when it comes to these conversations, one of the things that I have realized is that a lot of children, all right, do not have the right information. And because they don't have the right information, they always often, go ahead to just make wrong decisions, which is why one of the things that we did, in Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro was to actually get the Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, guides. All right, team, help me call up the guy. Get these guys, and we were able to put it together to help you to begin to talk to your children. So it means that as soon as you register for Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro challenge, all right, you will be able to access these guides. The interesting thing about this conversation is that if you do not have what it takes to actually be able to have these conversations, okay, you are going to actually struggle because you don't really know what to say. Now, we have a book called Helping Your Child Navigate Their First Crush. Imagine Stevie's mom read that book. Stevie, correct? Imagine your mom read that book. At least he would have taught you how to navigate this particular conversation. And it would have been so easy for you to actually have this conversation and now know that you don't need to go running around this girl. I even pity the girl self, because the girl does not even know the person who was secretly admiring her. And I can imagine how the girl that was light skinned, that they entered the school where there were many dark skinned people, the girl was in trouble. And because Stephen was not told what to do, Stephen joined the line of the people who were, and this was just 9 year old, 10 year old. So that your 10 year old actually is crushing after a girl. He's looking at the girl and it's a healthy feeling. That your 7 year old daughter is looking at a boy and it's a healthy feeling. There is nothing wrong with that feeling, which is the point. The point is that this feeling is valid. And what you need to do with this feeling is to help your children to become. That's what you need to do with the feeling. It's not for you to now get angry. It's not for you to now say, oh, what is it? And all of that. It's for you to actually help your child with it. All right. So if you are listening to me, you've not been able to get into Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, this is your cue. If you've not registered for Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, you want to register now. If you look on my screen, if you're watching on YouTube, you will see the digital molestation guide, the sexual reputation guide, and the helping your child navigate their first crush. Three of these three of these materials we're giving you free for those who have registered. All right, if you've already registered and you have this, let me see you say yes in the comment section. All right, if you've registered, okay. If you've registered, scratch that. If you've not registered, just put a yes in the comment section so that the team can actually reach out to you. If you're watching on YouTube, all you need to do is to look at the screen and take details. Or you're watching and on TikTok and you're watching on Instagram, you can just say yes. The team will reach out to you and will be able to share details on how you can join so that you can get these 3 books so that you can get these three books and actually put it, in use. Okay? I can see, just put a yes. Yes, 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 yes. The team will reach out to you with all the details. Just put a yes. It's just for 6,999. And with 6,999, you'll get that $5. Or you get to pay that in the next, 48 hours. The fee actually changes to 15,999. All right. You pay into, our account, and, or you use a link. If you're paying from outside of Nigeria, send the proof of payment to the number on screen, and you simply will get access today, right today, to these three free books. All right. These books will help you to navigate all your process. This book will help you. I'm registered and I'm getting value. Oh, thank you so much, Rosemary. Rosemary said, I'm already registered and I'm getting value. If you have already registered, just put value. Value. If you're already registered, put value in the comment section. That will help us to know. All right. I have access to the books. Awesome. Tobe Temi said, I have access to the books. That means you already registered. If you have access to this book, you can also buy these books on Amazon. These books are available on Amazon for $10. Am I correct? All right. On Amazon, you can see that this book is value overload. They are available also on our seller page. All right, for 5,000 naira per copy. So you see, we're giving it to you free. We're giving it to you free because there is, a value to it. We want you to actually be able to sit with it just by registering with 699. Imagine registering with $5 and you get three books worth $30. That's a whole lot of value. I think somebody say value plus, value plus plus. All right, so you can send in your questions so that we can begin to round up for this particular section where we had Stephen join us. Where we have Stephen join us. Stephen has just shared his story, the not fully informed child, which is very, very interesting. All right, you haven't registered, a yes. A yes in comment section will give you access to the registration details, or you can look at this pin post on our screen if you're watching on Instagram, or even if you're watching on YouTube and on Facebook. You can see the pin post, or you can also send us a DM. If you send us a DM, we'll reach out to you with all the details that you need to actually be able to be here. I can't see any questions. I can't see any, safe space with Haja. Said yes. All right. Just put yes in the comment section. For 6,999 only, instead of paying 15,999, you get these three books free, and you also get the master classes, 5 live master classes that you're going to actually get. All right. And in that live master classes, you will see, you get access to a lot of learnings, and you get worksheets. This is not all the books you're getting. As Text Educate your child like a pro, you're going to get worksheet, available for you to actually walk through the process. We'll teach you how to have sex conversation with your child, even if your child is 0. Did you hear me? We'll teach you how to have sex conversation with your child, even if your child is 0. Don't stay off the link. Don't just say to yourself, oh, this is not for me, and all of that. Come, no matter the age of your child, no matter whether you're just starting, it doesn't matter where it is that you are, we will give you value, and we will give you the right tools to be able to help your child and to be able to actually walk through this journey. Thank you so much for having me today. It's been an honor, right? It's been an amazing time to have every single one of you join our life. All right, we'll see you tomorrow again, where we're going to be bringing another team member, share a story about what it is that happened to them when it comes to sex conversations, and how this impacted them in their older life. Thank you so much again. Don't forget, if you are silent, you are irresponsible. Do not be silent on teaching your children about sex. Do not be silent on teaching your children about sex. Please ensure that you get your children in the environment. Let me also say another thing. Get the people around your children's environment. Did you listen to Stephen? He said, everything I learned in my environment. It came with its positivity. It came with its negativities. I heard things that helped me. I also heard things that made me make wrong choices. Imagine if you curate the environment of your children. Imagine if you give access. This class, you are inviting others, you are telling them what it is that they need, you are giving them access to this class, you're even paying for them if you need to. And imagine what can happen. See you guys again tomorrow and have an amazing, amazing day.